just in case you're joining us right now and you've never seen the show before and you have no idea who I am or what this is about, my name is Dov Baron. I'm the founder of FullMontyLeadership.com. I'm a business speaker, international speaker, voted by Inc. magazine as one of the top 100 leadership speakers to hire. So I'm very grateful for that. I write for Entrepreneur magazine, for Medium, for 34 Strong, and a bunch of other outlets. And if you want to find me, you can certainly Google Dov Baron. I'm also on Twitter at the Dov Baron, Facebook Dov Baron Leadership. Let's think, what else? YouTube Dov Baron Full Monty Leadership, and basically all over the shop. Go on, have a look, and you'll find me. Okay? Go have a look, you'll find me. Now I am by Starbucks, and so that means that sometimes the feed is going to get a bit weak. If it goes weird, don't worry about it. Stick with it for a minute. If it still stays weird, disconnect and come back in. Okay? Disconnect and come back in. You can always come back in. Let's see if I can move around and make the signal stronger. Oh, that seemed to make it better. All right, so this show, I asked you the question, is your passion boring? Is your passion boring? And this is why, to be a great leader, you must be inspirational. You have to be inspirational. So is your passion boring? So I'm down here in Vegas, and I'll just tell you quickly, I came down for one reason and one reason only. Some of you were on the show that I did at New Year, and on the show I did at New Year, I gave an hour's worth of strategies on how to create goals that you will actually meet, how to create the resolutions and goals you actually meet. And because every New Year's Eve, we write 100 goals on New Year's Eve. They have to be done before midnight. They're usually done before 6 or 7 o'clock at night, but we get them done, right? And people often ask me about that, and so I said, okay, I'm going to show you how we do 100 goals, and I gave you those strategies. And you can go find that. It's on YouTube. It's me in a blue shirt with my hand up like that. Anyway, so if you want to find it, you can find it. That's not my point. My point here is on that list, I always add my relationships. So on that list, I put down people I want that I have never met, that I want to deepen the relationship with, people I've never met, but know virtually rather, that I want to deepen my relationship with, people I've never met, period, but I want to meet, people I have relationships with that I want to deepen, and other relationships that I've got to really reevaluate. So relationships is a big part of that, setting the 100 goals. And on my list, there were certain people that I met last year in 2016 that I went, okay, I've only met them virtually, but I got a great connection with them. So there are other people I've met virtually, I've got relationships with, people like Jim Bouchard, who was on here. I've never met Jim, but we are definitely friends. He's a great guy, I love him to bits, and really a genius at what he does in the leadership space. He's a phenomenal guy and does great things. So him and I have built a relationship only online, but never in person yet. We will. However, there are other people I met at the end of last year that I want to have a relationship with, and I met them virtually. And I went, okay, I want to build a relationship with them. So these were people I only met at the end of last year, and they were on my list. And so one of them was going to be, who lives in Holland, one of them was going to be in Vegas this week. And we met briefly at Larry's house. That's right, Jim. Sorry, I forgot about that. So we met, one of my friends was going to be in Vegas this week, and he lives in Holland. So I decided to jump on a plane and come down here and meet him, spend some time with him. His name is Itzhak Emil, if you want to look him up. Great guy. Has a great best-selling book called The Attention Switch. And he is a phenomenal speaker, Israeli guy who lives in Holland. I wanted to meet him. I wanted to get inside his head, find out what makes him tick, what makes him successful. It's important to do. I also, on my list, had another guy called Tony Tony Grabmeyer. Tony has the Tony G show. I've been on his show, he's been on mine. Itzhak has been on my show. I wanted to build my relationship with him, wanted to discover more about him as well, right? So, I was very committed. These are two of the people on my list. There's more, but those were the two. And found out the day I was flying to Vegas that Tony was actually in Vegas as well. So it was like, oh, this is great. So Tony was going to be here same amount of time as I was, so I was able to connect with him too. So I came down. So Itzhak was speaking here, and he's speaking at an M&A conference, so mergers and acquisitions conference for lawyers. His background is a mergers and acquisitions lawyer. He's done business with, would you believe it, Trump. Been in the negotiations with Trump. There's a whole bunch of stories there, but that's a whole other thing. Anyway, so I get to go to this conference. I'm not invited, but I get to come in as his guest. And I'm sitting there in the front row, but I'm there an hour before my friend speaks. And I'm there an hour before Itzhak speaks. So therefore, I get to see the opening presentation. Now, the opening presentation, I think, was done by the guy who is the president of the association. And seemed like a nice enough guy, so don't get me wrong, seemed like a nice enough guy, but clearly very passionate about law, particularly in the context of mergers and acquisitions, particularly in that context. Found it fascinating. Like, clearly he was passionate about it. Clearly he finds it a fascinating subject. He's right in there about it. And he's talking about it, and I can see his passion as he speaks. It's evident that he is clearly passionate about the subject. He's clearly passionate about the subject. However, he may, and I say this because I really don't know, he may have inspired some of the people in that room. The room was about 400 seats. So he may have inspired some of the people in that room, but he sure as heck didn't inspire me. In fact, it was painfully boring for me. And I looked over at a couple of people at the table who were also lawyers from the same thing. They didn't look particularly inspired either. But I could see that the man speaking was passionate. So what was the problem? Because we have this idea that if you're passionate, it's infectious. It is, but you need more than that. It won't be enough to just be passionate. So here's the thing. There's an assumption that if you're passionate, sorry about the guy trimming the hedges over there, the assumption is if you're passionate, that will infect other people and they will become passionate. That's not true. You have to engage them in what it is.
Come here this morning.
You have to engage them in whatever it is that you're passionate about. In other words, they have to find a place in it. They have to find something in that is a connection for them. They have to find a place that is something about that subject that impassions them. Hold on a sec, somebody's just getting in behind me. Really, that's the only place? Okay.
No, it depends. You take this table?
Yeah, I'm at this table. Yeah, go ahead. So the subject was passionate to him. He was passionate about it for himself, but it wasn't particularly impassioning to other people. So you've got to find a common thread. You've got to find something that ties what it is that you're passionate about to whatever it is that they are passionate about. And this is why, as a speaker, you have to learn the art of metaphor. So the problem, let me just give you the problem. The problem is your passion assumes the passion of another. If you're passionate, you assume that other people will catch your passion and maybe will even be passionate about what you're passionate about. But that's not the case. It's not the truth. It possibly could be the truth, but it's not always the truth. And so if you really want to engage people, what you've got to do is you've got to find a common ground between what it is that you're passionate about and what it is they're passionate about. So the solution here, the strategy, is to become curious. The solution is to become curious about your audience, whether your audience is 400, 4,000, or one person. You have to become curious about what it is they are passionate about. You have to become very curious about what it is they're curious about, and then find a way to tie those two things together. Does that make sense? You've got to find a way to tie those two things together, because you have got to find a way to tie their passion to your passion. So for instance, I am not particularly passionate about mergers and acquisitions. Clearly this guy was. That's a good thing for him. So what he needed to do, please remember, I was an anomaly in the audience, so I'm not suggesting that he should have catered to me at all, but it was important that he tested his audience to find out what they were passionate about. And here's one of the things that, as a speaker, I've had to learn, is, again, there's this idea we assume people are passionate about it, but the solution is you've got to find something that is common. So the strategy I want to give you is that when you're having a conversation with somebody, ask questions first. So even as a speaker, as you go out and you start speaking, ask them, is this area exciting to you? Are you passionate about this area? Does this entice you? Is this exciting to you? So he was talking about this new part of the mergers and acquisitions market. And he was clearly excited about it, but he never asked if anybody else was. He never tested. He could have just said, how many other people are excited about that? Are you excited about this part of it? Are you excited about that part of it? He didn't test that. And so as a result, his passion was not effective. It was not infectious. So to be a great speaker, to be a great leader, you need to be inspiring. To be inspiring, you definitely need to have passion about whatever it is you are speaking about, but you need to find out if they are. So this is a way for you to connect with people at a deeper level. So let me ask you this question. What are you passionate about? You can type it in here, you can type it in the comments, you can leave me a video response to it in the comments later, that's fine. You can do any of the above, but tell me what it is that you're passionate about. Because one of the traps is thinking that everybody else is passionate about what you're passionate about, because it's infectious to you, but it doesn't necessarily catch on to others. And that's the challenge I want to give you, is to find out what other people are passionate about. So tell me what you're passionate about. What is it that you connect to deeply? What is it that you just, makes you spring out of bed in the morning if you had to, whether you get paid for it or not, but what is it that inspires you? What is it that gets you going? Because if you're going to lead, and remember what I said before, leadership is a very personal thing. If we think of leadership as being a title, but it's not. Leadership is an extremely personal thing. You are leading every single day. You are leading others, you're leading your family members, you're leading your friends. By virtue of being alive, you have some influence, and leadership is influence. So consider that. Ask. You're having problems with your kids and they're not talking to you. Ask them what they're passionate about. They may not use the word passion, but ask them what is it they find exciting. What is it that they love to talk about? Find out that. Notice when they're talking to you, when do the lights go on? Maybe they don't talk to you, maybe they talk to their friends, but you are in the room. Notice when the lights come on. Notice when the lights come on. So Lise just says, I'm passionate about helping women attract healthy relationships. Fantastic. So within that, I would now say, so I'm going to give you this as an example, and hopefully Lisa likes this because it's a gift, and so I'm now speaking about being in your passion, serving other people from your passion, but connecting. So Lisa says, this is great, what you are teaching us right now. Fabulous. I'm glad it's valuable. That's my whole point here. So thank you for that, and I really do appreciate that feedback. It really helps me to know that I'm connecting with you guys. But let's say that you, Lise, go into a room, a social event, and you're talking to people, and everybody in that room is married. Everybody in that room is married. And if you say, well, my passion is helping women attract, keyword, healthy relationships, that person can easily say, who's a married woman can say, okay, well, it's not for me because I'm already in a relationship. I'm already married. Can you switch that to then saying, I'm passionate about helping women be in healthy relationships, including in the one that they're in? So you've got to find a way to twist it back to them. Does that make sense? Jim just put a great comment. He says, you can't eat a bowl of passion, but it's hard to fill a bowl without it. That is very true. Very true. You've got to have passion in what you do. You've got to be passionate about it, but you can't assume it feeds other people the way that it feeds you. I think that passion is deeply nutritious to your heart and your soul, but it's but it's got to be yours. So this is your takeaway. Do not assume that your passion is the same as anybody else's. I've met people who are passionate about postage stamps, right? I'm not. I've met people who are passionate about mergers and acquisitions in the legal side of it. I'm not. So take a look at what it is you're passionate about, and then be curious. Your solution, your strategy is to go out and find out what they're passionate about, and then look for a metaphor, look for an analogy, something that bridges what you're passionate about with what they're passionate about. And that is the show for today. So the problem is you're passionate and you're assuming that other people are going to be passionate about it because you are. I get it. The solution is become curious about what they're passionate about, tie that to what you're passionate about, find a metaphor. That's the strategy you have to do, is find a metaphor that bonds those two things together. How do you connect those two things together so they can get on your passion and they will be infected? So until next time, this is Dov Baron of FullMontyLeadership.com. I want to know if this was valuable to you, if you got a lot out of it, so give me the thumbs up, give me the hearts, hit the share button, all of those kinds of things. When it goes onto the Encore, you can share again. That would be really great. I really appreciate you being on the show and letting everybody else know about the show. Thanks for all the hearts that are coming across there right now. I sincerely appreciate that. And like I said, share the show with everybody you know. Like I said, you can find me on, thanks Jim. You can find me on Facebook at Dov Baron Leadership. You can find me on Twitter at the Dov Baron, on YouTube, Dov Baron Full Monty Leadership. On iTunes, you can find my show, Dov Baron Leadership and Loyalty Tips, the #1 podcast for Fortune 500. We're all over the place, so find us. And listen, this is about what we deliver here is the soft leadership skills that are essential to you building the foundation of your organization. If you don't believe me, here's the analogy I want you to have. What we do is we build a foundation of your organization, of your leadership. How do we do it? Well, let me ask you this. Would you try and build a building without a foundation? Of course you wouldn't. So what do you pour into that foundation? You pour into it concrete. What is concrete? When it's poured into the foundation, it is soft and it is liquid, but it becomes the most solid thing in that building. What we pour in is the concrete, the essential leadership skills you need to be the kind of leader you want and need to be. Till next time, this is Dov Baron, FullMontyLeadership.com. Stay curious, my friend. Stay curious about what makes other people passionate and how you can tie it to your passion and infect them. Dov Baron, and I'm out.